We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity.
Weed! Free the weed! Free the weed! Free the weed!
What's up, you guys, man? Thanks for hanging in there. We just landed in Sacramento. We are going to the Cal Exit event. If you want to learn about Cal Exit, Google it. It's 2020. It's simple. So, for we, the cannabis people, this week, it only seems fitting to spotlight who I think should run as the VP, I think, this year. The oh so amazing Spencer Allen Boston. Did you guys hear this stuff? All right, I'm going to read it. I'm going to read it directly from the news, and then we're going to watch the video. So for those of you listening on Blog Talk Radio through Coffee Party USA, make sure you subscribe to GI Mary Jane on YouTube, because if you miss this video, I mean, what are you going to talk about at the water cooler? All right, before we get to the footage, I read this on NBC News just the other day, January 28th. Yvonne Burke reported a Tennessee man in court for drug possession is accused of lighting up marijuana in front of the judge to plead his case that the drug should be legalized. I'm not sure what the accusation is. He clearly pulls a joint out of his pocket and lights it up. And before I go on, let's roll that beautiful joint footage. Going to narrate this for those of you who are listening on Blog Talk Radio. This guy's in the courtroom, just got the verdict, not too happy. Pulls a joint out of his left pocket, a match out of his right. He sparks it. He puffs, inhale, exhale, and then the courtroom notices what he's doing. Bailiff walks over, politely escorts him out, and that is that. You know, not all heroes wear capes. I mean, this might seem like some crazy, act of disrespect to some of you, or to a lot of us, because we were programmed to always listen to authority blindly, no matter what. But you know what? Not anymore, folks. Not in 2020. So the article goes on to say that the stunt landed Spencer Allen. So the article goes on to say that the stunt landed Spencer Allen Boston, 20 years old, in jail on charges of disorderly conduct and simple drug possession. So he gets a 10-day sentence for being in contempt of court for this little stunt he pulled. And I wouldn't call it a stunt. I would call it an act of revolution. Okay, we'll just go there. Let's be real. Let's call things for what they are. Yeah, I don't even want to make anybody mad by making this comparison, because we are so programmed to be so divisive and separate ourselves, whether we're gay, straight, black, white, Hispanic, Christian, Jewish. It's insane, and I don't like labels. We're all human beings. However, that being said, I do acknowledge the struggles that certain communities have, and it is no secret that racism is real in this country. And that is more why we need to stop the divisiveness. So, that being said, I'll go on to the comment that I'll make. A long time ago, back when an entire community of African Americans were being treated like absolute shit just because of their skin tone, this awesome lady named Rosa Parks decided to stick her middle fingers in the air and sit at the front of that bus, knowing she would get put in jail. Let's see, who else? Ralph Nader. Ralph Nader wasn't allowed at the Libertarian debates, even though he won the nomination that year, and he got a restraining order that said he had to stay out of Congress, and he showed up anyway, knowing he would get arrested. You see, we've got great people like this in history that fearlessly do what they know is right, despite the status quo. A couple of people come to mind, and I Wikipedia them here on my handy dandy device, brand unnamed. A couple of people come to mind. Now, I was raised Lutheran. Lutheran is a sect of Christianity because, back to the divisiveness, we've all got to, try to separate ourselves from our neighbors for some reason or the other. So who was Martin Luther? We all knew who Martin Luther King was. Well, Martin Luther King's family named him after an awesome activist. And guess what? He grew up to be just that badass. Martin Luther, and this is from Wikipedia, Martin Luther was ordained to the priesthood in 1507. He came to reject several teachings and practices of the Roman Catholic Church. In particular, he disputed the view on indulgences. Luther proposed an academic discussion of the practice and efficacy of indulgences in his 95 Thesis of 1517. Luther taught that salvation and consequently eternal life are not earned by good deeds, but are received only as the free gift of God's grace, just like our right to consume the plants that God gave us. Now, what did Martin Luther do? He was a monk. He wasn't supposed to talk. He wasn't supposed to question authority. He was supposed to keep this whole Bible thing secret because it wasn't published in a language that the common folk could read back then. But legend has it that on October 31st, long before it was ever called Halloween, back in 1517, that Luther nailed a copy of the 95 Thesis to the door at the Wittenberg Castle Church, which in today's day and age is like spray painting a big fuck you on the door of the Roman cathedral. Okay, and from Luther's actions, we got change. We got the Christian Reformation. And that goes on. It's insane. So then we have Martin Luther King Jr., right? So his father was named after this great man and decided to pass that name on to his son in the form of a junior. So when Martin Luther King Jr. was born January 15th, happy birthday, we just passed that, in 1929, this is also from Wikipedia, he was an American Christian minister and activist who became the most visible spokesperson and leader in the civil rights movement. Now, Luther wouldn't have been able to get anywhere if it weren't for the actions of Rosa Parks. So keep that in mind, as we all are a drop in the bucket. We all play a role in the end of Prohibition here. And 20-year-old Spencer Boston is doing his part in that entire revolution. And it goes back even further than that. Gandhi was an activist, political activist, and he believed in the nonviolent principle, which is what the Libertarian Party runs on these days. I hate getting political with you guys, and I'm not a political person, but I think I'm getting more and more political because through the wonders of podcasting and social media, we are able to see that, no, we're not the only ones absolutely tired of the hypocrisy. And since we know that, it makes it a little bit easier to speak out against the injustices. And we shouldn't need that inspiration for others. I'm glad we have it. Don't get me wrong. I love it. And I wouldn't change a thing. But we have this inspiration. We have this inspiration in people like Mr. Boston, like Martin Luther and Martin Luther King, like Gandhi, like Rosa Parks. And then you go back even further to the 1400s, and you have Joan of Arc, who was told she couldn't defend her country and fight for the people, even though she knew she could do it. But she's a woman, and just because she's toting that vagina between her legs, she can't go out and fight. So she disguised herself as a man, did it anyway, and got burned at the stake for heresy. You guys, the tyranny's not new, but we, the cannabis people, need to keep the fight alive, like all of these great prophets and activists in history. And their names are countless. And for all the names that we know, there are 1,000 names behind them that took small actions in order to make what they did possible. Everything is a collective. Everything reciprocates.